So, why should I own a gun? That's the question most people make before buying one. And there are two main reasons why people buy a gun. First one is for self-protection, family protection, property protection. The second one usually is for fun. And when I say fun, I mean going to the shooting range, participating in competitions, going hunting and things like that. Okay? So when I say fun, buy a gun for fun, understand these activities. So let's think about it a little. You want to buy a gun for protection, to protect your property, to protect yourself, your family. And usually an assault against yourself or a violent situation comes out of robberies. Here in Brazil, at least, most situations that involve violence involve robbery. I'm not talking about the murders and killing situations involving drug trafficking, drug smuggling. That's a whole different thing. I'm talking about, I want to own a gun as a normal citizen, okay? As a person that doesn't make crimes and is a regular citizen, okay? This video is for you, a regular citizen. So most violent situations, the majority of the violent situations here in Brazil involve robbery, home invasions, robbery on the streets and things like that. And people usually want to buy a gun to defend himself or herself from these situations or from the people that are going to rob you bearing a gun. And then you can think about a scenario or a situation involving a robbery. You are there in your car, that's the most common thing, and a person comes with a gun in his hand, knocks at your window, cocks the gun, points at you and says, roll down the window, give me your cell phone and give me your wallet. And then you can think of two different scenarios now from this bigger one. First scenario, a person who doesn't own a gun and is not bearing a gun. Second scenario, a person who owns a gun and is bearing his gun with him. Let's picture the first one now. Person knocks at your window, cocks the gun, points at you and says, give me your belongings. And then you don't have a gun. So you just put your hands up, roll down the window and says, okay, here's my wallet, here is my cell phone, here is my purse or whatever. Please don't do anything to me. I gave you everything I have. And then the person screams at you or something and then goes away. Obviously, that's a terrible situation. It's traumatic. You lost your phone with pictures, contacts, bank apps and everything. You lost your wallet with credit cards, documents. You're gonna have to make them all again. First you're gonna have to block your credit cards, but you don't have your phone with it. And then it's a very, very annoying situation and also traumatic situation. But then the red light turns green and you move on. You go. And from a year or 2 years, 3 years from now, this is just going to be, a disappointing moment that you lived, but you're not going to be remembering or thinking about it on a daily basis, most likely. Now, this is what most likely is going to happen in a robbery situation, and it is what usually happens in robbery situations here in Brazil, mostly. But now let's think about the second scenario, the second possibility there of the robbery. You owning a gun and bearing a gun. You have your gun with you, the person knocks on the window, points the gun at you, cocked and says, give me your things. And then instead of putting your hands up, you reach for your gun. What do you think is going to happen? The person has the gun cocked and pointed at your face and you think you're going to be faster than him? No way. That's the situation when the guy shoots. And then a situation that would be, it would happen and then it would disappear, a temporary situation would become eternal, it would turn into something that is forever, that is the end of your life. You're basically trading your belongings, things that you have with you, for your life. And that is not protection, actually. Protection is the first scenario where you don't do anything and you protect your well-being, your body, yourself, by giving away mobile things. Okay, let's think that instead of being shot, in that situation you either die or get severely injured, you reach for your gun and magically you're faster than the guy who has his gun cocked and pointed at your face, and you shoot the person and the person dies. And then you're in the middle of the street, the person is dead there, you need to call the police is going to come, they're going to take you to the police station, you're most likely going to spend the rest of the day there making statements, witnesses are going to have to come, and eventually you're going to have to hire a lawyer to defend yourself, and believe me, that is going to cost way more than your phone and your wallet. So, in the most likely scenarios, owning a gun in a robbery situation is way worse than not owning a gun, because it increases hugely the possibility of you getting killed in a robbery, and that for me is not protection. Or if you magically are able to kill the person, you're going to have to spend the rest of your day in a police station, you're going to have to go to investigations, maybe you're going to have to hire a lawyer, and that is also going to be a trauma for you, because taking someone's life is not easy. So, and there is also a third situation. You didn't do anything, you have your gun, you didn't do anything, you gave the things away, and then the person turns his back, and then you get your gun because you're very angry at him and you want your things back and shoot him in the back of the head, or on the back, or whatever. And that, guys, is not self-defense. Not at least under Brazilian law. Which means that is murder, because the offense has stopped once the guy is not pointing the gun at you anymore. So you're gonna be prosecuted for sure, and that means you're gonna have to hire a lawyer and spend a lot of money, and eventually you're gonna go to jail and spend a good amount of time there because of a cell phone and a wallet. Meanwhile, if you didn't have a gun, this most likely wouldn't happen. So protection, under my point of view, is if you want to buy a gun for protection, you shouldn't, okay? Because you're way more protected without a gun than with it in this scenario. Of course, if you're a farmer and you live where there is no people around, it's good to have a gun to defend yourself against animal attacks. For example, you are in the United States where there are bears and things like that, and then you see a bear in the middle of the way. The bear doesn't own a gun, it's not pointing a gun at you, so there is a possibility that you can defend yourself better with a gun, there is no doubt about it, than without it. In that case, if you want to buy a gun for protection, in that case makes sense. But against armed robberies, armed assaults and things like that, believe me, it's better not to own one than to own. And who's saying this to you is a person who owns a gun, too, actually. If you want to own a gun for fun, then go ahead. That's actually my case. Here in Brazil, if we're going to a shooting range with the gun, we can bear it loaded to protect the gun itself from robberies. But then we end up in the same situation we did before. Usually before on the video, we're going to end up in the same robbery situation. Before, I used to carry my gun loaded to the shooting range, loaded and ready to use, because I used to think, well, if someone comes, he's going to take my gun and maybe kill me or something, and I need to be ready. But I started thinking and I realized that it's safer to take my gun to the shooting range, unloaded, with the ammunition apart and in the trunk of the car, than take it with me. Exactly for the reason that I mentioned before. And that's what I do today. If I go to the shooting range, my pistol is inside a suitcase, the ammunition is apart, it is unloaded, it's without the charger in it, so I'm totally safe. If a robbery happens, the person might take my belongings, my car, the gun in the trunk and everything, and I'm going to be alive. And like I said, it's going to be very disappointing, no doubt about that, and annoying, but 10 years from now, it's going to be nothing. Meanwhile, if I had my gun loaded with me, that would change my life forever. So that's my opinion about owning a gun. Should I own one? Take this into consideration.